Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about Martin's recent hospital visit and the ways in which his past was constantly catching up with him. There's also a reminder of the need to be careful when warming yourself on a wood-burning stove. Hospital visits.
Hello.
Hello, mate. You all right?
No, I'm hot.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sweltering here myself.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No, it's quite oppressive, isn't it? But then again, you know, the cold winter will be coming along soon. We can have a good old moan about that.
No, I like that. I'm fine with that. You can put a sweater on, can't you?
You can put.
There's only so many clothes you can take off.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to that now.
I don't want to know that. That is not. I don't want to think about
that. No, just trying to stay cool, mate. Yeah.
So, what's been happening? How's your groin?
It's okay, mate. Yeah, it's gradually getting better. I think I'm actually sitting up at my desk today, which is a bit of an improvement upon last week, and I couldn't get off the sofa to do this recording. So yeah, I'm a little bit more flexible.
So you wouldn't be attempting a 5K this weekend or anything?
No, mate. No. I'm 5 steps is about as far as I can get, I reckon, at the moment.
So anyway, let's not muck about today because it's too hot for all that nonsense. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I just wanted to go through really my experience of going to the hospital. Someone like myself who's got a pre-existing condition of alcoholism and addiction, because there's certain things that get thrown up which are unique to that situation.
Oh, you mean things? Do you mean questions that are asked of you? And
yeah,
really?
yeah, things that come up, which is a bit strange.
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, as you probably know, I was sort of diagnosed with a hernia a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and it hasn't really caused much of a problem. But I think the cure is worse than the ailment itself. It's a bit bizarre.
What you mean, the recovery of the cure? Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, but it's as you know, I was called at fairly short notice in to have it done because obviously the operator.
Steve, you'll have to hang on a minute. The ice cream van's just coming along the road, and I can't hear you. Do you know the ice cream van along here plays "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles"?
Does it?
Yeah.
Are they all COVID friendly? You know, purchasing stuff from the ice cream man. Is that all right?
I think they wear masks, don't they, and gloves and so on when they're handing you your 99, Mr. Whippy and Tony Bell and so on. Anyway, why did you get us onto ice cream? Come on, let's get back to the hospital.
I was just thinking I could do with an ice cream right now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
They can't get in here because there's electric gates at the top of the development here, and they can't get in. So that's it, unless they got the code. I never see one. Anyway, yes, what was you talking about? The hospital. Yeah, so it's been a bit strange because, as I say, I was called in at fairly short notice because there's people that have been a bit worried about going into hospital because of the COVID-19 business. They don't want to go in there and potentially expose themselves to it, and their lists have been sort of shortened and messed up a bit. So I was called in fairly short notice. But I had to go for a pre-op assessment a few days before the op to see if I was fit enough to endure the operation.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you been to the hospital during lockdown at all?
No, I don't think I have. No.
It's weird. It's so empty in there. It's so empty in there. You know, you get your temperature taken at the door, and then you go directly to the ward you need to go to, and there's hardly anyone around. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But I'd on my pre-op assessment, I went along to the ward, and everyone's in masks, so you can't really recognise people. And as I walked onto the ward, someone just come up to me. One of the nurses come up and said, "Hello, Martin. How are you?" And I looked really blankly at this person. And then I looked down at her badge that she had on, and it was my first real girlfriend from all those years ago.
Really?
Yeah, which is a bit weird. And it was strange because, you know, we sort of had a little bit of a brief. It's a bit tricky, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I suppose it would be, especially in a sort of situation where you don't expect to see somebody like that.
Well, exactly, yeah. Obviously, she knew I was coming in because she saw my name on the list.
Right.
And she'd arranged a few things for when I got there. So she wasn't surprised to see me.
Roses.
But it wasn't the welcome committee particularly, no. But it was a bit weird. I mean, she was my first real girlfriend. She took my innocence all those years ago.
I see. That sort of first real girlfriend.
Yeah, the first cut is the deepest, and all that sort of thing. So, yeah.
I take it you didn't bring it up in the first few sentences.
Well, she ran off. She ran off with one of my friends, didn't she?
Yeah.
Did she ended up married?
Yeah, she did, didn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, she did eventually. But it was strange. It was nice to see her after all that time, and she did my sort of height and weight, and blood pressure and that sort of thing. She said, "I've got to pass you over to someone else now because they do MRSA swabs and stuff." She said, "It's just sort of the intimate parts we've got to do the swabs for. So I'm going to have to pass you over because we've got history, etc., etc. And it wouldn't be appropriate."
She'd already seen your intimate parts, of course, hadn't she?
She had. She probably just didn't want to be reminded of what she'd been missing over all these years, She'd probably be a bit shocked. But anyway, yeah. So she passed me over to one of her friends, who are colleagues, and she'd obviously told her the situation. So this new girl, she did the swabs and this sort of thing, and she said it just was. I was getting ready to go out, and I said, "Yeah, it's good to see Dawn." I said, "She was an old girlfriend of mine." She said, "Yeah, I know. Yeah." She told me that you were coming in, and she said, "How are your feet?" I said, "My feet?" She said, "Yeah, you've got a habit of burning your socks, haven't you?" And obviously Dawn had told her about my sock burning escapade from many years ago. I don't know if I've ever regaled you with that particular story.
I don't know if I know this one. No.
Well, it was so embarrassing. It was embarrassing because it was one of their first dates, really. I walked up to her house and we'd gone out for a little Sunday afternoon walk, and it started to rain and we got wet. And I went back into her house, bearing in mind I'd only met her parents. It was on the first or second occasion I'd met them.
You have told me. You have told me this, but I want to hear it again.
And so I went in there. I took my shoes off, and I said, "My socks are damp." She said, "Well, we're warm up." He said, "You can warm your feet up by the fire." And they had one of those log burning fires with a glass front on it.
Yeah.
So I stood with my back to that, and I was sort of holding one foot up at a time and sort of gradually heating them up and trying to get the moisture out of them. And unfortunately, I then touched with one of my feet. I touched the glass with my foot, and as I put my foot down, I could suddenly feel the carpet. And I thought, this is a bit strange. And I lifted my foot up, and the whole of the sole of my sock had stuck to the glass on the fire. And it was an awful smell. And I didn't know what to do, because everyone else had gone out the room at that point. I was just there on my own. And as they come in, they said, "What's that horrific smell?" And I had to cough up. And so, her dad, one of my first introductions to him was he had to get down his hands and knees and scrape my sock off of the glass. Now, obviously,
didn't he? He liked a cliche, didn't he?
He did. That's the same one, yes.
Did he say worse things happen at sea?
He probably did, but he looked a little bit angry at that point. Yeah, I didn't know much
admit, from my own experience, I mean, the smell of your socks can be quite unpleasant at the best of times, let alone actually fried on the front of a wooden.
I was in a bit of a pickle about it, I've got to say. I mean, as you can imagine, my brothers and my dad loved that story when I told it to them. They ribbed me about it for many years. But anyway, it was the same lady. She was going through my bits and pieces, and she was just going through one of the questionnaires. And one of the questions that always comes up is, are you diabetic?
Right.
And I had to explain to her. I'd already explained it before to other people in the hospital. Whether they go back through their notes or not, I don't think they do particularly, because things might have changed perhaps since I was last up there. But it's always a problematic because I have to explain then and say, yeah, I am officially on the diabetic register, type 2 diabetes. But I'm actually in the normal range now, but I was having very strange readings when I was drinking. I said, I'm an alcoholic. And she said, oh, all right, okay, how much do you drink? I said, no, I'm an alcoholic, but I just don't drink anymore. I've given up, it's been coming up for 9 years. And then she became very interested in that I still called myself an alcoholic, but I wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
And so again, it's something that people that don't have those sort of problems don't have to go through, but I have to go through it quite consistently. When I go to the hospital.
You then, what's that like for you? When you say to someone I'm an alcoholic, and then you explain to them that you're not drinking anymore, and then they kind of want you to unpack that so that they understand it better. Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, what's that like? What does that feel like for you?
It's okay if it's because I think if they're showing real interest, and they always seem to be quite in awe of someone that can not have a drink for 9 years.
Right.
It's because I think most people find that a completely unfathomable situation.
Yeah.
They could never see themselves doing it. So they do find it quite interesting.
Yeah.
But I had to go through it the same again because a couple of days later I had to go for a COVID-19 test to make sure that I was, obviously negative before I went in for my operation. In fact, that was all right because you get hear all these horror stories, don't you, about the COVID test. It makes you gag and it makes you feel ill and that sort of thing. But that was all very straightforward. But again, I had to go through the questionnaire again with them. And again, they asked me that question. So again, I had to go through it all with them. But that was okay. And then obviously a few days later, I went off to have my op. And I was, I was gowned and I was all masked up, ready to go. And then just the surgeon that was going to be doing the operation, he's talking to me, and he came around with one of those marker pens, and he's putting a mark on me where he's going to have to make the incisions and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I just, as an off-the-cuff comment, I said, it's strange that this hernia, could that have been caused by the laser therapy that I had, a few years ago? And he said, you've had laser therapy? I said, yeah, it's some time ago now. And he said, well, that changes everything. We may not be able to do the operation now. We may have to do something completely different. I won't be able to do keyhole surgery and all this sort of thing. And I said to him, did you not know that? I'm just about to go down to the operating theatre, and you're telling me you don't. He said, well, you should have told me you'd had surgery in the past. I said, did you not read the notes? He said, and there was a big, thick set of notes that were laying there. He said, no, but, now I know I've got to make the appropriate operations. And it was at that point I got this real anxiety building up inside of me. I thought, they don't know what they're doing here. I'm in trouble. And it was the first time for a long time that I thought, I'm going to run away. I'm going to go and have a drink. I don't want to be here anymore.
Really?
It was. I had this real panicky sort of anxiety attack. And I told them this, and they settled me down and said, no, it's okay. It's just, we weren't aware of this, but now we know it's all going to be okay. We're going to have to do the operation slightly differently. And so I decided, at that point, I would go through with it. But it just sort of reminded me that the condition I have is still there. It's still there. It's still there in the back of my head, and it will still come to the fore when if I get sort of heightened anxiety.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, actually, because what I find interesting about that is that you went straight from feeling panic, so maybe even having a panic attack, or you went straight from feeling anxiety to your kind of go-to solution being, well, I better go and have a drink then. So it's interesting, isn't it, that's still a kind of automatic reaction in you, even all of this time later, that you don't go from, I feel anxious, I feel panicked, what am I going to do about it? And that your immediate go-to is still, I best go and have a drink. You'd have been down the local pub in your operating gown, presumably, wouldn't you? And those fetching non-slip slippers, stocks.
I would have done with a catheter hanging behind me, running down with not a catheter. What are those things they put in your hands?
Yeah. I thought that was a catheter.
With a catheter. Anyway, they put it in your hand, and I'd been running down the road with that. But it's I suppose the difference between now and when I was if I'd just been a couple of months into recovery, that I didn't act upon it, and it was only a very fleeting thought. But it did remind me.
Isn't it interesting that is still your kind of automatic thought?
Yeah, I think
because if I feel anxious about something, or if I feel panic about something, that would never be my go-to. I wouldn't think, crikey, I need to have a drink. That would never be my go-to. But
no, it's never been a big
go-to for so long. That's still the place your mind immediately goes.
My mind goes there. I mean, it's very rare it happens, but I know how to counteract that now. I have the tools in my box there to sort that one out. I know how to sit down and rationalise things. And the thing, it was only a very fleeting thought, The second thought was I'm still going to run away, but not go and have a drink. And the third thought is this is not an ideal situation, but I've got to trust these people. I'm going to crack on with it.
Yeah, would you have gone down to Whitstable again?
I don't know where I'd have gone, really. There was no plan in mind at that point, apart from getting away from the horrible situation, the anxious position I felt that I was in.
It sounds as if when you were having that conversation with the surgeon, that it sounds as if you voiced your anxiety. So you actually told people, you said, right, I'm feeling pretty anxious now, or whatever words you used, right?
I did, yeah.
So that's something that's an indication of obviously a great change from where you would have been a number of years ago, isn't it? Because that's an example of you showing vulnerability.
Yeah.
When you're showing vulnerability, you're giving yourself an opportunity to be helped.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that is something you learn. That's one of the basic tools, is asking for help, but not hiding things away inside anymore. You know, if there is anxiety, I'll talk about it straight away. And they were able to talk to me and say, this is okay. We're in control. This is what we're going to do. And he talked me through the operation, and off I went. So it was only a sort of a 5-minute gap between him telling me and then me deciding, I'm still cracking on with this. It's not something which I'm not going to go back and start the ball rolling again and have to go on the waiting list for another 2 years.
Yeah, that must have been a pretty unpleasant 5 minutes, though.
It was. Were
you ever hospitalised when you were drinking?
No, don't think I was. No, I wasn't. Which is quite.
I imagine you must have seen often over the years examples of people in group who've had to go to hospital for drink-related situations.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Yeah, and I wonder what sort of how people are received in hospital when they.
It's a bit of a mixed bag. Often they will. It depends if it's how often they've been there.
Yeah.
Some of them have actually got a ward named after them. They've been in there so often. If they've been picked up by the police or something, they collapsed in town, or they've got their drink problems and they've been sectioned or whatever. So yeah, because they used to. They'd take you in and they'd detox you whilst you're in there. So they keep you in and detox you.
Right.
But that doesn't seem to be happening anymore. Obviously, the ideal situation for a hernia operation, for example, is you go in there and you stay in for 3 or 4 days whilst they get the pain under control, and then let you out. But now, because of the COVID situation, they want you in and out very quickly.
Right.
And so I was sent home before really I felt that I was felt that it was safe to do so. They send you home and that's that you deal with it.
That was particularly difficult for you then as well, because you didn't have anyone at home, did you, to take care of you?
I didn't. No. Obviously, they were a bit concerned about that. But I said, I've got people close by, which I have that can come and check on me, and that was that. But they didn't seem to. They were more keen on me vacating the bed because I was on a ward on my own, because they can't have people on the same ward as you. So I was taking up effectively 4 beds. It was a 4-bed bay, and I was in there on my own. So, yeah, it's in their interest that you're gone pretty quickly. But it's strange because when I was, the nurse came to discharge me when I'd woken up. The surgeon had come to see me and to talk about the operation, how it had gone, and that sort of thing. And then the nurse came along and said, I've got a pack of stuff for you to take home, dressings and that sort of thing. I'll put some painkillers in there for you. And she said, they're Cocodamol. And I said, I'm not really that keen on taking anything with opiates in. And she said, why not? And of course, I had to go through the same one. I had to go, it was a different nurse, but I had to go through exactly the same thing. And saying, well, I'm a recovering alcoholic, I've got addiction problems, and I don't really want to be taking anything that's opiate-based. And again, she became very interested in my recovery journey at that point. So it is something that's I'm pleased that people want to listen, but sometimes I think I'm just going through the same old thing time and time again, and it can be a bit like a record on repeat.
Yeah, but you're playing the record to different people, aren't you?
You are, yeah. And
I also wonder whether, when you have the opportunity to hear yourself talking about what you've been through and
Yeah.
your years of recovery. In some sense, doesn't that also create a greater strength in your own mind about your own? I can't use the word journey. You know how I feel about the word journey. Doesn't that create in your own mind a greater sense of strength about how you've got to where you've got to?
Yeah, it does, and I feel quite proud when they seem genuinely happy that I've been able to conquer my demons.
Yeah.
And then I tell them that the charity I'm involved in, and I'm helping other people to achieve the sobriety that I was been lucky enough or have had the strength enough to get. And it seems very it goes down quite well.
Yeah, it must be quite nice to be able to talk about it with people, particularly people who are interested in hearing about it.
Yeah, you tend to find that people in the medical profession, it's still amazing me. They tend to know very little about it, really.
Yeah.
But it's the nurses on the front line now. I'd imagine that in A&E, as we were talking about it earlier on, the amount of people they see on a Friday and Saturday night that have coming in when they've with drink-related issues, they must get pissed off with it. They really must.
But they must do. But there's a distinction, isn't there, which is probably quite difficult for a lot of people to draw between someone who goes out and gets hammered on a Friday night, gets into a fight or falls over and smashes himself up, with someone who's got a long-term kind of chronic destructive relationship with alcohol.
Yeah, there is. I mean, it is. I think a lot. Again, it's stereotyping the person that has an alcohol issue. It does cause a big drain on the NHS resources. There's no doubt about that. Whether it comes from the persistent person that goes in there because they've got an alcohol problem and keep getting themselves into medical trouble, whether it is someone that goes out and has a few pints and a punch up.
Yeah.
So yes, it is. I think those lines can become blurred sometime. Yes, I do.
Yeah, and it's understandable how those lines become blurred, and so you wouldn't really be able to differentiate between the two, would you? Unless you had the chance to be able to hear about or to understand addiction and alcoholism from someone who's actually experienced it.
Exactly. Unless the nurse sits down and reads the notes of the people that see they've got a history of it, which, from my experience, notes are of no value whatsoever. they just bulk the system up and never referred to.
Well, clearly in your case.
Yeah. But it was quite strange because when I was talking to someone else about the cocodamol situation, and they were surprised, and they said, "Well, it was, that's never your drug of choice, was it?" I said, "No, it's not, but I have addiction issues, and I know that's a particular issue." And they said, "Well, why doesn't everyone that come out of hospital then that has morphine or whatever, why don't they come out as a junkie?" And so again, I had to go through the whole situation. And we could actually do an episode on this on its own, really. And I don't want to go too far into it, but we know, that we talked about the Rat Party experiment in the past, and we talked about Vietnam, where a lot of the soldiers were given opiates to deal with the situation, and then when they came home, the opiate problem disappeared.
Yeah.
And only about 10% of the people that took the drugs were left with that problem. The same as normal society. So again, I had to go through that as to why that the drug isn't the actual addictive problem, or isn't the problem with addiction is not with the drug, it's with the person. Yeah. And then when you put the person with an addictive substance, and then it goes wrong. So yeah, that was quite an interesting 20 minutes of my life, having to go through that and explain to someone why people don't come out of hospital as junkies when they've been on morphine for quite some time.
Yeah, because it's in rehab, you have to stop everything, don't you? So if you've gone in for, I think this is right, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but if you've gone in for drug addiction, you also have to stop drinking, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So you might have considered that you didn't have a problem with drinking, that your problem with cocaine or heroin, but if you take one substance away, then the likelihood is you're just going to cross-addict into the other one, right?
Exactly right. And it's the amount of people that trips up, because inevitably it will lead back to a drug of choice anyway, or you'll just have a new addiction to a potentially more lethal drug.
Yeah.
So yes, it is. It is abstinence. I mean, when I was away in detox, there was no coffee either, no caffeine.
Yeah.
Because they felt that was it can alter your mind. So yes, it is. And in fact, as we talked about the Rat Park just a minute ago, and I've had another exposure to another part of that Rat Park experiment because I've been reading a book called Irresistible.
Yeah.
And that was. Do you remember last week? I think it was the week before. I was wearing my Anti-Nowhere League T-shirt.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Which was a Father's Day gift.
Yeah.
Another part of that Father's Day gift from Lizzie, my youngest, was a book called Irresistible, and it's about it's basically about addictive technology.
Right.
About why phones, why iPads, etc.,
Yep.
and why they're addictive, how they are made to be addictive.
Mm-hmm.
And how and how it's I'm learning quite a lot in there about behavioural addictions, and they mentioned the Rat Park experiment again, but in a slightly different format. There's more to it, and again that's quite an interesting one that we should explore at another stage.
Sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, yeah. I mean, certainly the addiction to devices is a bit of a scourge of modern society, isn't it?
And it's on the rise, and it's quite interesting that the people that the people like Steve Jobs and the people that are at the forefront of providing this addictive technology to society won't let their own family or own children have them. They won't let them have these devices.
Yeah, you can't blame Steve Jobs. He's dead.
No, you can't. No, but Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Exactly the same situation where they know how addictive these products are and how they're designed to be that addictive, so they won't have them in the house.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's definitely food for thought on another occasion.
Yeah, well, once I've finished the books, I'm only part way through it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I dread to think how many notes you'll make on an entire book.
Oh, I've got loads going on already on that. That's for sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
that'll be a whole mini series.
Well, yeah, I shall make it into as small, digestible chunks. That's for sure.
Good idea.
Because Lizzie actually she had it on an audio book, and she said it was really interesting, and thought that I'd find it of interest. And so she bought me the book, and it is. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a very interesting read. So we'll cover that at another stage.
Sounds good. Excellent. Well, I'm glad.
Yes.
Is that the end of your notes?
It is really, yes.
I suppose if you didn't have to stay in hospital, you didn't get a chance to put any sort of Robinson's lemon barley water in the little cupboard by the side of your bed or anything like that. Or no one could bring you any grapes, could they, or anything like that?
No, they couldn't. I very much felt like a tourist.
Yes.
I was in and out before you could say, let's cut bits of your body apart.
Yeah, you did make me when I checked up on you on, I don't know, Sunday, I think it was. And you sent me a message which made me laugh. I asked you if you could move around much. You said I dropped some loose change on the floor 4 days ago, and it's still there as I can't get down to pick it up.
Yeah, well, the good news is that I did pick it up. I picked it up yesterday, so that was okay. I sort of kicked it into a little pile, keep it nice and neat. But I was able yesterday to actually bend down, so it just showed it was a good way of monitoring my progress, I felt.
Yeah, well, it is, but it reminded me of another thing, actually, just before we finish, which was, we've spoken before about your insistence on having albums in the correct covers and being in alphabetical order and so on. And when you were talking about dropping some loose change on the floor and not being able to pick it up, it reminded me of someone I used to know who couldn't tolerate seeing a pencil on the floor without being able to pick it up and put it back on a desk. So those sorts of OCD type disorders are quite common. So it's just as well, wasn't it, that you didn't have the sort of disorder that meant that you couldn't tolerate seeing loose change on the ground. Presumably, did you need to see it in denomination order?
Yeah, well, I kicked it into shape, but I kicked it into the sort of the pound coin at £2 coin at one end, and then I kicked it around so I could get down to a 5p piece at the other end in a line, sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, so okay, so it wouldn't be denomination; it would be size for you then.
It was pretty much was size.
Oh, I see.
But then again, I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't see what was going on anyway, to be honest. So I wanted to keep it in some sort of order. But it's gone now, so you don't need to remind me about that anymore.
No, I wouldn't dream of it. All right. Well, I'm going to go and I'm probably going to go and stand in front of the fridge for a little while now until I cool down.
Yeah, I've got a fan going the whole time here, and it's very, very close, isn't it?
If you've got a fan on, all you're really doing is blowing hot air around, which ironically is what we've been doing for the past half an hour.
I do that most of the time, mate. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'll see you next week and keep up with the recovery.
Yeah. It's progressing.
Good. Okay. Speak to you soon.
All right, mate. See you later.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work, visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or on our Facebook page at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us to let us know what you think of the show or with anything else that you'd like to ask us. And finally, we want to thank you for listening and ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.
I hope my love can blind you. I hope my arms can bind you, so you'll never have to see what we've grown to be. And one may think we're alright, but we need pills to sleep at night. We need lies to make it through the day.